Yeah.
Sorry for the noise. No, I'm in the house with the kids. Cats. And yes. And
so thank you very much for joining this talk from your home in Brussels. I guess I would start by asking you to present your studio, Ouest Architecture, and from there we can talk a little bit about the ongoing phase, what you're doing at the moment.
Okay, hello Paulo, hello everyone at INSTITUTO. It's now a few weeks that we are exchanging emails about this possibility of passing by Porto, coming to Porto and discuss or make something physically new, amazing space. And then yes, now of course everything is a bit postponed. Now let's say postponed instead of cancelled, and also yeah, we need to rethink things. And yeah, I'm glad. I'm happy to be here to discuss with you virtually. I would of course prefer to be there, but
well, first I was very happy that you one of your someone from your team was in Porto and was very kind to leave me a copy of your first publication, 01. And it compiles the work of the first 10 years of the studio. Would you like to tell us a little bit about that period, or the first 10 years of work, how the office has come to do what you do?
And I think it's very important to understand how Ouest started, but it's because it's super, it's a kind of very natural way of starting office in Belgium, which is basically the fact that when you come out of your studies of university, it's super easy to get the first commissions in Belgium. Very, very easy, because and it might also be a completely dangerous, no? Because you can also stay stacked for years and doing a very small intervention with maybe never amazing architectural ambition. But at the same time, you have to deal very quickly with small budgets, small commissions, middle class, or even low middle class, and not only kind of more economically important clients. Like in my case, it was a pocket office, no? Like me, myself, and I alone, starting with this small commission. So I also started to work in a art center in Brussels. Maybe it has links also with INSTITUTO, but it's not focusing only on city and architecture. It's a art center that you, Paulo, knows now, Recyclar. And I'm their curator for architecture programs for now 10 years. But it also helped me a lot, and maybe it's the kind of similar experience that some people do when they start teaching. No, is that you have you start the office, but you have also another focus on architecture in city, not from your own practice, because of course in the beginning you focus or scale of programs is quite small. So you have another focus, and you have also another economy, which means that from the very beginning, even if the office is super small and modest, you allow yourself to choose the project. No, so you are in the economical position to be able to say no to something that you are not interested in.
Fast forward to today, perhaps you could tell us a little bit about how the office works. You are a team of 10 people now.
Yeah, this is my partner Jan here with the mouse, you see. Oh, sorry, it's yeah. Every Friday morning we have a team meeting, and we start with cava, coffee. Works very well. So this is a drawing from the office. It's a nice space because in the front it looks like it's a series of very bourgeois. It's a kind of bourgeois house with nice interiors, nice floors, and nice ceilings. And then we can close this part from that one, and we can also close there. And then at the back there was a huge transformation. I don't know, 30 years ago, 40. And the back place is a very huge space, so more like an atelier. So we have a kind of mix of the domestic scale and mix of the large space to do models. And the first commission for atelier clothes, and it was very nice because it's a place in Brussels where a cultural space but it's private. So it was not a public, it was not a competition, basically. It was a private client with private money, but for a project which is open to public. And I had the opportunity to do this project. And for these 5 first years of West, between Recyclar and this big project and a few small refurbishing of housing, I was completely occupied. No, it was a lot of work, but I dedicated these years to work mostly on that big project. So this first competition is like most of the project we work on. It's not completely a choice, but at the same time, I think it's linked to our fascination for the city and for Brussels, but for the city itself in general, and the fact, at least here in Brussels, that everything is a bit of a chaos now. I was speaking about a positive bastard. There is maybe also a kind of positive mess, no?
In your introduction, in your book, you mentioned that the DNA of the office is closely linked with the place where you actually work and live. The fact that Brussels is such an heterogeneous city, fascinating and energetic city, and so this project perhaps summarizes all that urbanity of the city, you know, and it can become almost like a mini city on its own. The group of small buildings that you worked on.
Yeah, true. I think that the fascinating thing of Brussels is because also many things here are a bit by accident. Because if you look at it from a urban point of view, urban planning or architecture, there were so many mistakes for decades that we arrived, I mean, in the 80s or let's say early 90s to the worst city you can ever imagine. Everything was completely done in the wrong way. I personally arrived to architecture through literature, so more through the fascination for the city itself than for the buildings. And of course, I love buildings and I love details. But there is a kind of wish and maybe game, maybe more to play with this condition of a city with a lot of accidents, more than trying to correct, not trying to arrive as a kind of superhero killing the problems, solving problems, but more trying to understand these sometimes strange conditions and play with it, accept it as it is, and play with the conditions instead of trying to correct them. Yeah, I would say. So if I quickly explain the project here, it was, as I said, 5 buildings around a courtyard, not of them all independent, and in a very strange condition because the street is here above, but these windows you see here are social housing. If you have a show every night, in that condition, they suffer from the noise now. And then that was the existing plan. So everything is built now, and you have to. It's a competition about a site where everything is built. So how to intervene, and it's more about making the links. So very very quickly we arrived to this idea of a patio in the middle of the space to preserve a green and open space in the middle, but also to allow new connections between the buildings and the different functions. Now the bar, the venue, but also the artists, the offices, and also to protect the neighbors from the noise in the night. So and everywhere, and it's a very low budget project. So there is also this wish to play with existing things and try not to lose a bit the budget per square meter, but more to try to hierarchize the interventions, and in some parts invest a bit more money, in other parts try to do the less possible. So that's also something that we try to do in every project, not working with a budget per square meter.
But looking at this plan, it's really interesting to sort of connect with our own condition here at the Instituto, where our building is just behind the main building that faces the street. So we are in the inner courtyard, in a in an internal condition of building. In fact, there were actually people who were there who said that the entrance and the courtyard that you arrive reminds her, in that case, that reminds her of Brussels. It was
Nice.
a funny comment. So maybe when you have the chance to come to Porto and visit our venue, you will perhaps tell us what your vision about that.
They evicted all these people to build this huge palace, and of course a palace to put them in jail. No? And then because of that, they felt guilty, and they kind of allowed informally people to build stuff in their plot. So somehow it's interesting and strange, because this condition of informal interiors is not legal, but it was not punished neither, because it was because of public policy. Yeah.
Steph, you could also tell us a little bit about the methodology and the attitude of your practice.
This is André Malraux in his Musée Imaginaire. So it's an image we love. It's of course much before internet, but somehow for me it's the moment where maybe internet was born with this image. No, that he was in his office trying to put all the images of the art pieces he would love to see in one single place.
It's in the ground account.
It's on the ground. Yeah, it's Le Musée Imaginaire. It's also a book from André Malraux. But working with these references and this A5 format for references, but also for ideas, we much like it, because you can put it on the table. Or we don't work much on the ground with the clients, but we work on the table. But then sometimes, if you feel that one idea we should quickly not focus too much on, it can disappear quickly, and then basically the way things relate to themselves, or the priority or the link between different projects or tests or images might completely evolve in the discussion in a much more natural way somehow than a presentation with pages. No, the Dogville also we arrived on it because of one client, and then now we try to repeat it a lot. So we were doing it's a project in Brussels for artists. So they want to have their own house, and then also art gallery. So the guy is a visual artist, and in the project, basically it's also low tech and try to not kill the project by square meters, but more concentrate the efforts and the money in some interventions, and be much more minimal on the other spaces. And then we were trying here to make one box in the middle with all the techniques, now the heating, the kitchen, the toilets, the bathrooms, etc. And so in order to test a bit the scale of the proposal in the site, yeah, we did with the artist this test one by one mock-up, but it's only tape, no? It's basically the tesa, no? The very cheap tape. And yeah, it happened to be very quick and efficient tool to fill space.
I know you were very busy in the office, or you still are. Could you tell us what you're working on?
We just won this huge competition in Brussels for a new cultural place. And this one we do with Flores y Prats from Barcelona. Because we know them, because they were here also at Reciclar for a talk, and also because reading, I mean, and because the history of this building and the new program had so many links with the history of Sala Beckett, the project they did for this building in Barcelona, which was very quickly also like an amazing building from the 30s or 20s, and then it became a disaster in the 60s, 70s, and then almost nothing, and then had to reinvent a new life after it. And here got the same. This facade here is classified. Victor Bourgeois, famous architect from the 30s here in Belgium, and then the interior was amazing. but then it became nothing, and then the parking and a squat. So there was a suddenly kind of a nice and evident way to work with the Flourish on that project. That's one of the ones we are working on now, and I have to say that the COVID situation makes that we can less go to the site and less, of course, let's discuss in real, but it's not stopped. No, we continue working it. We won, basically we won 3 competitions in 3 months, which is a lot. It was the office started with the atelier close, I said, then the small theater rideau, and then we won in 14, and then we won another competition in 15, and another in 16. So there was a kind of nice rhythm of 1 new commission every year, public commission, and then small projects for private clients. And then suddenly 17, 18, 19, we did not win any competition, and we were, I think, 6 or 7 times second prize, and sometimes on very big projects.
You catch 2020.
Yeah, and so 1 year ago, after a bit of for example, this project, well, we see nothing now, but we did a big project with Productora from Mexico for 35 million euros, a new cultural spot in Belgium, and we finished second after 37 days. So yeah, after a moment of a bit of sadness, no, how all these efforts, all these competitions, and always finishing second. Yeah, for a few weeks you cry a river, and then you say, okay, no choice now, we start again, and we apply to many competitions and hope that we can get one of them. No? That was 1 year ago, and then we applied to many competitions last year, and then we were selected in many competitions, and then yeah, in the end we won 3 competitions in 3 months, which is for a small office somehow too much. I mean, I would much prefer to have one every year, but this is I mean, yeah, you cannot choose everything. No? So there is one in the 3 new competitions. There is one I said is a variété with farci prats. One is smaller, and we do alone. It's again more the scale maybe of Le Rideau I was showing, a small cultural project in Brussels. Maybe it's better to go to the website so I can. So this one we started also. You had one cinema from the 50s. This was a cinema at the back. You had a classical house from a neighbor that they just bought to make this new project. And then there is another street at the back, and there is a small theater for the moment. And the project is to link everything together. I will try to find a plan into a new small, yeah. So there was a street here. There was this building with this cinema before. This is another house, and this was another plot. And now for the first time, the municipality bought the 3 plots and tries with this project to make a new cultural center for the community. So it's very local, and it's nice because you can work with the 2 streets. One is very animated with the tramway, and it's more like a boulevard, and the other one is more like a very back street now. So that's the second one.
Having worked on cultural projects a lot, do you think there will be an impact in terms of the design and how, you know, these places of gathering and amphitheaters or theaters and auditoriums, and how will those typologies adapt to this context?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not. I'm a bit afraid. I'm a bit afraid, of course, because I mean, somehow Brussels itself as a city, if you go back to Brussels, it has a cultural offer that's amazing. I mean, it's the highest average of theaters per inhabitant of Europe, and you can continue the list now for dance, for music. It's amazing. But at the same time, Belgium as a country for the moment, and before COVID, has a kind of very aggressive policies regarding financing the cultural sector in Belgium. So somehow, very quickly, Brussels is a kind of progressive left city in for the moment much more right-wing Flanders and right-wing somehow Belgium. So in Brussels, you have a kind of context and clients that are progressive and willing, and there is a huge wish to do this project. But at the same time, the money comes from above, and from above they don't want to give the money. And I'm afraid that the COVID stuff will not help, of course. So I don't know. You know, still in Belgium, the budget for buying new military planes was 20 times the budget of culture. So now maybe that we see that sometimes the enemy is a small parasite. Maybe that that you cannot kill it with the tank, no, or new military tanks, or I don't know. Maybe we can make a nice society switch, no, to focus on things. Of course, not only culture, no, but care, elderly people. Yeah.
Really a lively body of work where you feel that is always about experimentation and about not following kind of recipes or rules for each project. Seems to be quite unique in that sense. Is there anything you'd like to show us to wrap up?
Of course, it's nice to trust and give freedom to the people that work on the project. So I think that the diversity of the project and the aesthetics is basically and easily understandable because of the diversity of the people we are at the office. So now in these COVID times, of course it's less funny, but we continue having daily moments every morning, half an hour all together, and everyone basically explain what he's going to do, and then sometimes if he finished a collage or a test or a plan, we just smash it on the chat. So it doesn't need, I mean, of course we have emails or specific chats to discuss the drawings, but we also have one common channel just to smash everything, so that we continue somehow being a community, no, even if we are all from home almost.